Okay, here in this problem, let me bring it down here for us. Square root of 7x minus 33 plus 3 equals x. Okay, so put the wall of separation in here, right? An equal sign separates the left side from the right side. We have two sides here, and we're wanting to solve. So how do we do it? Well, basically solving. Okay, so step one, to solve the square root that has an equals. That's the big deal here. Is we have a square root and we have an equal sign. What do we do? Step number one. Get the root alone. See how the root over here also has a +3 with it on the same side? We need to get rid of that. So I'm going to go boom, boom, and bring down the square root. And the other side is just x minus 3. So step one, we got the root alone. And making sense, the root is all by itself on the left side. Okay, now, step two, parenthesis 2 power, parenthesis 2 power. So I'm going to go parenthesis 2 power, parenthesis 2 power. Both sides. That's what we always do. That's how we're going to get rid of the root. So now, what does that mean? Well, that means 2 of them, doesn't it? It always means 2 of them. So in other words, it's going to mean 2x minus 3s. And it's going to mean 2 square roots of 7x minus 33. Right? It means 2 of them. Now, this could be very confusing. I want to be super clear for you. Remember what square roots always do. 2 for 1, don't they? 2 for 1. So this is just going to be 1 plain 7x minus 33. Why? It might be confusing. 2 inside lead to 1 outside. Right? These 2 square rooters inside leads to 1 outside. That's what square roots always do, don't they? Right? We know that. Like if you have the square root of 7 times 7, that's 1 plain 7 outside. 2 7s inside, 1 7 outside. Just like that. 2 7s inside, 1 7 outside. That's what we always do with square roots. 2 for 1, 2 inside, 1 outside. Now, on the other side, are there square roots over here? You might say, oh, let's do the same thing. It's just one of them. No, there's no roots here, right? No square roots. Well, then what are we going to do? You know what to do? We've done this many times. You go first to both, second to both. It's going to be x squared minus 3x, and then second to both. Minus 3x, and then plus 9, because minus 3 times minus 3 is plus 9. Now, many students over my many years have said, Mr. Hand, that's totally weird. On the right side, you're doing that, but why didn't you do that on the left side? Because there's square roots on the left side, and there's no square roots on the right side. That's a gigantic difference. Visually, it's small, but it means a lot. Is everybody seeing that? So you have these square roots have to be large in your mind. They make a huge difference. So on the side where we have the square roots, it's a 2 for 1. 2 7x minus 33 is inside is 1 of them outside. Whereas on the right side, there's no square roots. It's just 2x minus 3s. And we just do it just like that. All right, let's keep going. So now, what do we have? 7x minus 33 equals, and then this side's going to be x squared minus 3x minus 6. That's minus 6x, isn't it? What in the world do we do now? This is where it can get really confusing, because it's just like, this is This is just crazy. Well, we are getting some, even though it's still pretty big, we are getting somewhere. What do you mean? We got rid of the roots. There's no more roots, huh? Okay, so now what are we gonna do? Well, remember, it's been a long time, So when you have x squared with an equal sign, we're going into like a different mode. We have x squared right here, and of course an equal sign. What do you do in that case? A, get a 0 on one side. And then B, factor with the double parentheses. Remember all that? Maybe not so much. It's a good review here. It's a good little review time. We've had this before. This is not our first time. So whenever you have an x squared with an equal sign, you've got to get 0. So I'm going to do this. Look at this. Opposite of both those. Gonzo, gonzo. Whatever you do to one side, you have no choice but to do the same thing to the other. What is that going to do for us? I'm going to put a big fat 0 on this side. Other side, x squared. This will be minus 13x. Did you see that? Minus 6x minus 7x led to minus 13 plus 42. 9 and 33 leads to 42. And I got a 0. You see what happened there? So you get a 0 on one side. This is what, whenever x squared, x to the second power, shows up on the scene, you right away have to get a 0 on one side, which we just did. And then next step is you've got to factor with the 2 parentheses. Remember this? Coming back. And then how do you figure out what goes in there? Well, you're looking for what is going to multiply to be 42, add to be 13. So what multiplies to be 42? 6 times 7 is 42. Use your calculator. And then how do they add to be minus 13? Both minus, huh? You see that? Right? If you lose $6 and lose $7, you lost $13. They add it to be minus 13. And 2 negatives multiply to be positive. Huh? That all coming back. And then part C, each part equals 0 and solve. Do you remember that? Now you take each of them separately equals, I'll take the x minus 6 separately equal to 0, or x minus 7 separately equal to 0. Each part equals 0 and solve. That's why you factor with the 2 parentheses. Now, why is that? Why can we go from 1 equals 0 to 2 equals 0? Because 2 things are multiplying to equal 0. Therefore, either one could be 0 to make it true. You remember that? Is that making sense? If I said, hey, I'm thinking of 2 numbers, and I multiply them, and the answer comes out 0, what does that mean? One of my 2 numbers is 0, huh? Either the first number is 0, because 0 times anything would be 0. 0 times anything would be 0. Or the second number is 0, because anything times 0 is 0. One of the 2 numbers is 0. That's the only way 2 things multiply to equal 0, is if one of them is 0. Well, that's what this is saying right here. See, the parentheses are multiplying to equal 0. What does that mean? The first one is 0, or the second one is 0. That's just reasonable, logical, isn't it? And then we can solve. Now we just come in here and go, okay, we're almost done with this thing. Add 6 to both sides. Boom. X is 6. Over here, add 7 to both sides, because and cancel this out, and X is 6. So we got our 2 answers, 6 and 7. So if you come up here and you type in your 2 answers, let's see. So let's see, 7, 49 minus 2 p.m. It's going to be right, but I should tell you first off, you do need to check. So I know it feels like we should be done. It's been a very long problem, but we do have one more step, unfortunately. You must check both answers separately by plugging into, oh, I don't know what step in there, into the original. Let me get way down here. So in other words, you got to go back up and get the original. What was original right there? Square root of 7x minus 33. So grab the original. And so the square root of 7x minus 33. So it's all the way down here. So root of 7x minus 33. What else was there? So 7x minus 33 plus 3 equals x. Okay, plus 3 equals x. And then you got to do it over here also. Same thing again. And you got to plug in the 6 here and here for that one, and the 7 there and there for that one. And you got to make sure they're both coming out true. You tracking with me? So here we go. You got to work it out. So this is going to be, oops, the square root of 7 times, and I'm plugging in 6. Like that. And this would be square root. I've used your calculator. This would be 42 minus 33. And this will be square root of 9. Oops. Square root of 9 is 3. Oh, whoops. I plugged in, I forgot to plug in the 6 on the other side. That was dumb. Dumb. This should be 6 over here, right? This x is 6. So does that equal 6? Yes, 6 equals 6. Check. Does that make sense what I did there? I took the x equals 6 and I plugged it in both x slots to the original equation. Right? And I found out if the left side equals the right side, it does. That's what an answer is supposed to do. That's what an answer is supposed to do. It's supposed to bring balance to the equation. When you plug that answer into the left and the right for x, everywhere you see x, it's supposed to make the left side and the right side equal. It did. Now, how about for the other one? The other one's supposed to also work. Let's try the other one. So on the other one, I'm plugging in 7 for x. Does that make sense? Right here and right here, in both x spots, I plugged in 7. Let's see if that equation works also. So what do we get? This is going to be 49 times 7 minus 33 plus 3 equals 7. So then work out the square root. 49 minus 33, what is that? 16. And that's 4. Right, square root of 16 is just 4. That's 7 equals 7. Check. That one works too. They both make the equation true, don't they? So 6 and 7 are both good and valid answers. Now, sometimes when you do this process, one of them will work and the other will not. Well, what do you mean by not work? It'll come out like 7 equals 8, which 7 does not equal 8. You know, it'll come out not equal. And in that case, you just throw away that answer because it's a false answer and you keep only the good answer. So if one of them works, meaning makes the equation true, makes the left and the right truly equal, then that one's a keeper. And if the other one does not, you throw him out. Sometimes they're both bad. If they're both bad, the answer is no solution. So you can get both good, both bad, or one good, one bad. You only keep the good ones. It's like fishing, right? You look over the fish, you only keep the good fish, you throw back the bad, the ones that are too tiny or whatever, right? That's what we're doing here. We're only keeping the good ones. In this case, both of them were good. So I keep them both. Sometimes they're both bad, no solution in that case. Sometimes one's good, one bad, and you just give the one answer. So in my case, I'm going to go 6, 7. Both are good. Both are true answers. Either x equals 6 or x equals 7 will make the original equation true, either value. I put a comma between them. So recapping, what do? To solve for a root with an equals, you get the root alone. I subtracted 3 from both sides. Then you parenthesis 2 power both sides, which means 2 of them, 2 of them. On the left side, it's 2 inside, 1 outside. That's the easy side. The other side, you got to write 2 of these. There's no root. So you have to FOIL it all out, right? The first to both, second to both, got to multiply it all out. And then all of a sudden, x squared shows up. What do we do with x squared? Get a 0 on one side, so get rid of all this stuff. Get a 0, and then factor with the 2 parentheses. Each one equals 0. Solve it. Got those 2 answers. And then we had to plug them in, each of them into the original to make sure the left side and the right side are really equal. And so that's a long one. And there we go.